There's going to be some blips in the schedule. That, this is not the time to have them. Obviously, it's a result-oriented business. Don't get me wrong, but to me, I'm the process, the staple type of guy. We've lost that a little bit. I know it's a 2-1 hockey game, but it wasn't. It was just a. It wasn't a committed game from a Canuck our group. It wasn't. We didn't do the staples and all the stuff that we want to move this thing along. And there's 14 games left. That's why the urgency has to come now, and we can't wait. 2 more, 3 more, 4 more weeks. You just can't. That's the warning. Leadership group's got to take a hold of the team. The coaches got to maybe coach a little differently now. There's a lot of different things you do. Sporadically, when do you do days off? How hard do you go at practice? I mean, you can't be full throttle all the time. So there's just a lot of different maneuvering. But we're all in this together, and that's the only way you're going to get out of it.
Do you get the sense that after last night's game, the guys are engaged and ready to go full throttle and get that extra level that you talk about?
I hope so. I think so. I mean, these guys bounced back before, but this is a different part of the season. This is March now, and it's gonna, there's a lot of desperate teams, so you have to play a little more desperate. I think, a little more committed, a little more, better back checking, better changes. That these are the little things that we've slipped, and when you let those things slip, the results aren't going to be on your favor.
Are you a little surprised because a year ago, Rick, when you were here, meaningful games in March was a label to place on the fact we're not going to the postseason. We got to try to gain some sort of a focus here, start a fitness regime, do something to move the needle. Here we are a year later, and you think that, I'm sure the players are jacked. I mean, they're going to the postseason. They're going to the dance. How surprised are you that this is recurring? You've talked so much about how one mistake can lead to a second, how those 2 goals last night happened in the span of 2 minutes. Are you surprised, shocked, somewhere in the middle? Where are you?
No, I'm not shocked, surprised. I mean, you're going to go through this sort of stuff, but I think people are waiting for the next guy to do it. Somebody's waiting, in whatever category it is, to be the forechecker, or to take charge. We have a lot of guys just kind of waiting around, and we can't play that way. That's not our team. We're just kind of waiting around, and then when we're frustrated, it looks like some guys are. It's not. I'm not saying use the word quit. It's just they just kind of get a little slower and slower, and that's when you really got to. When adversity hits, is when you got to face it. We talk about meet pressure with pressure. If the pressure's hitting you, go find it. You can't hide from pressure. And I think right now we're just kind of we're wading our way through a game. We're not taking charge.
Isn't it amazing to you that the guy who's kind of leading that inside play, 8 of Brock's goals have come on tips this year. He's second in the league in tipped goals, which is for a guy who used to be a pure perimeter player, has drank the Kool-Aid, he's in a. How much of an example should other guys look at Brock and the willingness to do the dirty stuff and get where you need, not only to draw penalties, but to score goals? You guys aren't drawing penalties because you're not there.
Yeah. I mean, if you do the shot chart on any and in any team, all the goals are around the net or, just in the slide area. We had what, 27 block shots, 21 missed shots. That's 48 attempts at the net, either missing or getting blocked. So you're, obviously, we're not moving our feet to change the angle of the shot, and when we do get in there, we're missing the net. So that's 48 missed opportunities. Whether it's blocked or missed, you can't have those. Usually, if you have that, you're usually not going to win those games.
What about Brock's improvement in that area, though?
Yeah. That's what his mindset he worked on this summer. Is getting to those areas.
You often say meet pressure with pressure.
Yeah.
I think you have it on your walls, and it's when you watch a game, when you're under pressure on the forecheck or Hronek's handling the puck or whatever, and you don't meet it. It's amazing. The trickle-down effect is startling, isn't it? It's 1 mistake, 2 mistakes, it's in the net. Coverage, positioning, it's in the net.
Yeah, that happened a lot last year. And then that's something that we worked on this year, where if we did make a mistake, we ended at the 1 mistake. Now it's 2 or 3 mistakes, and that's probably the one things that upsets me the most this month or the last 6 since the All-Star break. Yeah. The compounding mistakes, and maybe it's it's obviously habitual, and you have to preach good habits, but sometimes old habits come back when you're not meeting pressure with pressure. So, that's something we got to get to our game really quick when it comes to that.
I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the history of this, but this is kind of uncharted territory for a
Yeah,
lot of the guys.
sure.
And they're trying to figure out how to handle it, right? It's not like, oh, you know what,
Yeah.
we won, we lost tonight, we're not going to the playoffs. It's not
Yeah.
the end of the world. Now everything is not the end of the world, but it's steps toward where you need to be come late April.
Yeah, and it's my job too. I can't coach where these guys are squeezing their sticks. And I got to be careful too. I got to take onus too. I mean, I can't keep preaching, hey, playoff intensity, this and that, and all of a sudden the guy gets a puck and he can't handle the puck. So there's a give and take, but the player has to take ownership too. It's like, hey, there's going to be some heat here. You got to handle it. Now, good players handle the heat. And if you're in the NHL, you're a good player. So that's really what it comes down to.
When you practice tomorrow, I think you are.
Yeah.
Buffalo coming in here.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got Dahlin, they've got Power, but they got Byram in that trade with Colorado. He's from here. Great kid. He's got 5 points in his first 5 games. How much is it a challenge to defend against teams that, as you mentioned, teams that can activate their D? And these are really good young D-men. How much of a challenge is that going to be Tuesday against Buffalo?
You got to be tracking. You got to know where you're going coming back. They have a really good young core, for years to come. So you got to know where everybody is. And they got some players like Thompson and Tocchet and those type of players, Cousins. Those guys can make plays. So it's a dangerous team. I've watched this team play the last 3 weeks, and they're a fun team to watch because they're a highly skilled team.
Their job of being.
So whine about that, you crybaby bitches.
Generational talent.
Thanks for liking the video and subscribing.